everyone, it's Jeannie here. I am joined by Kristoffer Polaha. I love saying your name. The star of The Shift. How cool is this? The sci-fi with faith and everything. Like, you know, the moral compass is the faith. It's sci-fi. It's creepy. It's fun. Like,
there's a romance. There's we can't forget the romance in there. I got to be honest with you, Jeannie. When I read the script and it was described to me as that, I was like, what? How are you going to do that? And then I read it, and Brock Easley did such an amazing job of weaving basically the story of Job. It's about a guy who's just tested and tested and tested. And he holds on to this idea that there, you know, is a God in the universe who wants him to win, and he's fighting for love. Is in this situation, it's played by Liz Tabish, who's his wife, Kevin's wife. And he's willing to go to the ends of every universe to find her again.
it's so romantic.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I mean, and it works. It just works. Yeah, I can't wait for people to see it.
That's awesome. So multiple things. Just what you said kind of struck me. The fact that a man under all this pressure is enduring, right? That's a hurdle that we need to see more of.
Yeah.
And the fact that someone is fighting for the love of their life, right. Another thing that we don't see as much anymore, or at least in culture today.
Yeah.
It's almost like, okay, just move on. It's too hard, tap out.
Right.
Talk about that, just that endurance, that fight for that love.
Yeah, I think it is inspiring and ennobling to see someone have integrity, and to see someone fight for love, and to see somebody who's true and true-hearted. And what does that look like? We need role models. You know, it's funny, I think that, and I'm in Hollywood, and I love Hollywood, and I think that Hollywood is doing its best job to be as representative as it can, and sometimes it feels heavy-handed and it misses the mark. But then every once in a while, you'll see a commercial or you'll see a show, and it's done so beautifully, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what a family that looks like that, that's how that family is getting through the world, and that I can do that. But meanwhile, it's almost like we're telling so many stories that we're forgetting to tell the stories that are sort of a basic, you know what I mean, like
right.
fundamental.
The universal truth,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Regardless what language, race.
Yeah, and I think that the shift deals with, very simply put, a very, very, at its core, kind of as we all are, we all have the potential to be sort of broken and rotten and sort of, you know, given, okay, if I gave you a hall pass to do anything that you wanted to do, would you do it? It's a very simple question. If I'm saying you could do anything you want, would you do it? And there's no repercussions. Legally, you're fine. Morally, you're fine. Here's a hall pass. Do whatever you want to do. And you're kind of given that. And so that's what my character, and frankly, he's a power broker on in all of these different universes. So what Kevin represents is an agent of chaos, and in all of his existences, in all of the universes, he kills people, he shakes things up, he destroys things. But in this version, this one Kevin's truth is that he is a man of integrity, he is a man who is fighting to be good, and he's a man of faith, and he loves this woman and he wants to get back to her. Wow. And so what you see is this guy literally trying to, you know, to the ends of every universe, like trying to find this girl.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hollywood, no, I'm just kidding. I'm about to say something shady. I know that your character dances with the devil, if you will.
Yeah.
And I know, and just, I grew up in Hollywood as well. And
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost in the sauce and dance with the devil a little bit.
Sure.
Talk about that, just the, you know, you're in the industry, and I think you've done a great job at doing really incredible mainstream entertainment. With also keeping your faith, your morals, your values, and then even doing entertainment that, you know, is probably a little bit more embraced by the faith community.
Yeah.
Talk about that, and just, I know, like, this story follows a man.
Yeah.
There are plenty of I see young men behind the camera.
Sure.
There's young men and men everywhere who have that temptation to dance with the enemy.
Yeah.
What do you speak to that?
I think it's a fantastic question. first of all. So thank you for asking that. Second off, I think that as a Christian, when you read the Bible, there's a devil. You know that, and what was fascinating to me is that Jesus did two things. He healed the sick and he cast out demons. Mm-hmm. And as a Christian, we're not given authority over other people, but we're given authority over the principalities of the spiritual realm. And even Shakespeare acknowledges Hamlet. He's like, there are so many things that are seen and unseen that cannot be conceived by the mind of man. So we acknowledge mediums, we acknowledge ghosts, we acknowledge aliens, we acknowledge all of these things that we can't see, even Sasquatch. I was just on a car today and I heard about the Thunderbird. Have you heard about the Thunderbird? Mm-hmm. Have you heard about the Thunderbird? Giant bird, wingspan 20 feet wide. It exists today. It swoops up small cattle, small deer, sometimes children. What? Super smart, never seen.
Where
exists here in Utah. My driver told me about it today. So we're allowed to believe all of these things, and I think that I think where Hollywood has really sunk its teeth into human nature in the way that Jesus was talking about the world. Now, the devil, if we're going to give credit to the devil and we're going to give credit to spiritual warfare and we're going to talk about demons, we could talk about all that stuff, and I'm sure that would be a whole different conversation. But there also, the world is broken. And I think left to our own devices, if, like I said, if you take the hall pass and say, here, do what you want, it becomes very easy to start to feed your own nature, because we are full of pride, we are full of lust, we are full of greed, right? So I think what Hollywood is tapped into is the fantasy of, because in real life, people had a pretty specific moral compass. Like if you cut to 100 years ago, divorce was taboo. If you cut to 100 years ago, family structure was pretty strong. If you cut to, so there was this really tight, and so the fantasy was, well, show me what it's like to be wild. I mean, when Marlon Brando was a wild thing, or wild one, and James Dean did his thing, it was so shocking because they wore t-shirts and a leather jacket, and they were like bad boys, and all of a sudden, all these people who were really trying to be good, they were given this window into and then you got rock and roll, and you got Elvis Presley, and there's a pretty clear line of this idea of good and evil, and this idea of dancing with the devil. And I think that mainstream Hollywood has always loved to embrace that sort of fleshy, raw, and even satanic element because there's this weird appeal, and there's this weird fantasy element of well, I'm doing so good on my own, but I do want to see a little window. And I think now the world has caught up, art, life has imitated art. And I think we've arrived in culture where really our real life is far more egregious than anything we'll ever be allowed to put on screen. When you think about sex trafficking, we think about mass shootings, and we can go as dark as we want to go. You can't write the things that are happening in the world. So now I think it's Hollywood's job to start showing the fantasy of what it looks like to have integrity, the fantasy of what it looks like to have faith, the fantasy of what it looks like to be, a good man and a good woman. And you could tell all the stories still, and you could still represent everybody. Everybody can be represented by that. But there's this idea of let's start showing people what it looks like to be tested and still have faith, and still be true to your faith, and still have integrity, and still have honesty, or still have, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild, the way the pendulum just swings, right?
Yeah.
Coming from Hollywood, you're used to making something and going to the theater and then seeing how it's received.
Yeah.
But partnering with Angel Studios, that's where we are today. The shift, you guys are just getting all the supporters up front.
Right up front. They
How's
still have
that
to.
for you?
They still have to like it. They could be like, "Wait, we paid for this. I want my money back."
But talk about that, getting all of the fan support before they even see the content. That's amazing.
I love it. I think again, we're talking about progression. We're talking about pendulum swinging. It used to be the studio system held sort of the keys to the kingdom, and they were the gatekeepers, and the only people and things that could pass through, the content could pass through, were approved by a small group of people who were saying, this is what we're gonna, which I think the audience in the last 20, 30 years has been why does it feel like everything's being manipulated? Why does it, And I think with Angel Studios, what they're saying is like, listen, if you want to see something, put your money where your mouth is. We'll make it. Support it, word of mouth, grassroots. My hope for this is that it grows beyond the initial investor group, and that not only will they come and see it, and not only will their people come and see it, but that like any movie, this thing will just grow and grow and grow. And I would love to see the box office be shockingly high. I would love for this thing to be, you know, for just a lot of people to see, because it's a really fun, wonderful, entertaining movie. I know we just had a really heavy conversation, but it is a sci-fi. And the guy jumps through a multiverse, and he kisses the girl through the whole, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a fun movie, you know?
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you so much, Chris. It's always a pleasure, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your.
I want to share something. We're wrapping up, but I want to share something with you. Have you thought of, like, are you creating content yourself?
I am, yeah, I am. I do. I've actually got a project for Angel that I just sent through their torch. Like I have a torch for them.
Yeah.
And then Hallmark has been this really wonderful place, and I'm doing some fun stuff with them.
Amazing.
And then you know the books, right? So moments like this and Where the Sun Rises, I started writing romance novels with this woman. Yeah, you got to get some.
I didn't even know.
You got to get your books, kids.
I have to.
And we're taking those from the page all the way to the screen.
Wow.
So yeah, we're going to turn the first book into a movie.
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, just telling stories.